Hey, everybody. How did you get started in this industry, meaning the email industry, and what kind of keeps you going? That's the topic for today here on Email Never Sleeps. And I've got a really cool guest. Eric Kriegermeier and I have known each other since, I think, 2016. Full disclosure, he worked at an agency I was at Trendline Interactive. He's now at Shaw Scott, the Director of Solutions Engineering. But I'm going to let Eric give you your introduction, kind of give a brief background about yourself, and then kind of how did you get into this industry?
Yeah, brief background. I am a Chicago-born native,
Yeah.
currently living in South America. I live in Paraguay. Been a digital nomad since about 2017.
Yeah.
And typical Midwest family, mom,
Yeah.
pop, sister,
Yeah.
not really anything special there.
Yeah.
But to get into email marketing and digital marketing, it's kind of a weird winding trail.
Yeah.
Back in 2007,
Okay.
I opened a gym in Atlanta, a martial arts gym, also fitness gym, like boot camps and all that. We had our own website. We did our own email marketing, had our own lead gen back and we did it from the ground up. I didn't have a service. So I learned all of that myself. I was a graphic designer before that. So being on a computer or a laptop as your job wasn't a stretch for me. We did that for 3 years until we moved back up north because we had our first daughter on the way.
Okay.
And I got hired by a agency out in West Chicago called Aspen Marketing.
Yep. Know them
And
well.
I was a HTML developer there. Quickly found my way into the Exact Target platform, and that's when it all kind of spiraled into email marketing.
Yeah.
And that was like 2010.
Yeah.
From there, jumped from agency to in-house marketing team.
Yep.
Through until we met in 2016, which I was working in-house at that time for a marketing team. And through some awesome leadership, present company included, that took a chance on me and believed in me and kind of mentored me up. Worked my way from being a typical campaign services tech to a solutions engineer, to a consultant, to now the director of solutions engineering at Shaw Scott.
Yeah.
And
it's funny because your career, I mean, you spent, wow, it was a little over 5.5 years at one agency. Now you're at another agency. When we think about a lot of people who are marketing technologists like yourself, right? Solutions engineering, solutions architects, platform, and the agency side is much different than that of the brand side.
Yeah.
Right? Tell me, I mean, I'm assuming you prefer the agency side, but maybe you don't. There's a definite difference, right?
Yeah.
Tell me what draws you more to the agency side, because now you've been doing it for 7 years almost.
Yeah, agency, well, probably longer than that if you think of Aspen as well.
Yeah, it's true.
Right. And I worked for another boutique agency as well. I think the difference for me is that brand is slower.
Yeah.
It's slower. I might have 3 projects that are milestones for the quarter.
Right.
An agency, I have 3 projects for Friday. The upside for working in brand is that you get to know the brand, you get to understand it, you get to get really close to the subscribers and the clients and understand them. You get to explore vendors on your own, discover third-party vendors that might be able to help facilitate your growth. Agency, we're like mercenaries. We come in, sometimes we fix a quick fix. Other times we're held on for a long retainer, but we have to jump from client to client to client, that it takes us a longer time to get really intimate with the data. the personalities on the other side of the line that are the in-house branding team, right? Like they all take longer time to get used to. So I always joke with my team that like when I'm ready to air quote retire, I will go brand side.
Yeah.
I'll take the easy,
easy. Make the easier way.
Yeah.
You know, I read a lot about and I stuff on LinkedIn, stuff on Slack channels. And one of the questions that a lot of people have is, hey, look, I've been in email marketing for some time. I want to learn more. I want to kind of get into it and become, you know, this type of individual. As you sort of moved up the food chain, so to speak, right? And you started getting involved in all this stuff. What's some advice that you would have for people just either A, on the cusp of this industry or been in it for 3 or 4 years and want to take that next step in their career, especially the career path that you've had? I'm just curious, like what would you hit with?
I think there's two paths, right? There's two paths. There's, to your point, the technologist, like I'm going to be inside like this platform. I'm going to work magic with server-side JavaScript. I'm going to, you know, I'm going to know everything about this. And then there's the other side that is like, I'd like to be maybe less in the platform, but maybe a thought leader, or even in my case, I really enjoy building teams. I enjoy building up my team, empowering them. Like when they look across departments, they're like, our team fires on all cylinders. They have a hit squad of all home run hitters, right? Like that's, I was, you know this, and the people that might listen to this might not. I started coaching wrestling like at age 20.
Yeah.
You know, so that's like, age check here. That's 25 years.
Yeah, right.
You know, so coaching is kind of like my happy place.
Yeah.
And like leading like this team, the team that we have now, and giving them like the ability to like grow and clear a way for them is kind of the direction I went. Yeah. How I got there, I think, is that I always asked for more.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that do you ask for more because you feel like you've mastered the other stuff and that you can take on, or is it a more of a learning type of stuff? Like when you ask for more, it's probably because you want to learn more and more.
Yeah, it's like a mix. It's definitely like, so I do want to learn more. I'm always like wanting to know the new next thing, but it's also, there's a touch, and this is this is like therapist moment, right? There's a touch of imposter syndrome.
Okay.
Where I want to know more because I don't think I know enough.
Okay. Yeah. No, that makes sense.
You know, I have team members, and I can name drop them, but like Molly Ficarella, she knows like everything there is about data. Like, and I might know enough, but she gut checks me all the time. So I'm always like, have that in the back of my mind, like, do I know enough? I need to learn more, or she's got that nailed down. I have to learn more to like complement that or to get more. Like, so it's always kind of this tinkering of like, one, I believe fully that as humans, we're always a work in progress. Like there is no finish line. But two, there's a little imposter syndrome in me that is like, you got to prove to everybody that you really belong here.
I use the philosophy that I'm a student of this craft, right? I know that a lot of people would look at my background and say, 23 years in email, you're a thought leader and you've been ranked or whatever. And that's great. But I kind of go back to the notion that, there's so much to learn about this industry, email marketing in itself, right? If you think about the umbrella of email, there's so many different areas of it. I try to learn something as often as I can. I do a lot of reading, I do a lot of research, and then kind of put it into practice. And it's funny, right before this call, I was actually learning something really new about how certain things are calculated with a certain client of ours. And I thought that was, sort of really interesting, where somebody would just say, just calculate it this way. Well, that's not how sometimes we learn and we delve into new areas especially in email. What's interesting, and I know there's a huge debate going on about this in many different areas of business, and that is the back to the office thing. You've been remote for many years. I've been remote for many years. I know Shaw Scott really well. I'm extremely so enthralled with the work that you guys do, and Melissa and stuff like that. You're primarily a remote company, right? I mean, obviously you're down, in South America, right? And there are people all over the United States. I'm curious, like, what are your thoughts right now that we're in email, right? And I think we can work anywhere. But what are your thoughts when you hear that there are companies, even in the email space, asking people to come back to the office? Like, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it fits some verticals of work.
Yeah.
For us, I don't think it does.
Yep.
I don't think it's at all, but I mean, I think if I was working like back in graphic design again, creatively, I think having that kind of think tank and ideas and being close to, like, physically close to, like, hey, come look at this.
Yeah.
Let's kind of piece through this, or spread out some paper on a desk and just start sketching.
Yeah.
Like, it might be suited for that.
Yeah.
Right. But that's again, it comes back to being, having the ability to not just be present, but also have like an output that is good for the company, which sitting in an office next to 3 other people coding
right
doesn't benefit anyone. And then actually my productivity is down, because the quiet secret about like remote is that we often put in more time.
Yeah, it's true.
Than people that have to commute back and forth, because them crossing that threshold of heading home, like, is like a click. I'm out of work. I'm done.
Right.
Exactly. Well, it's what, 3:30 local, 3:40 local your time.
Yeah.
I just went out, and it's 6:30 here. I went out before this call. I made my daughter's dinner.
Yeah.
And I come back.
Yeah. Totally.
And I'm gonna put in like another hour and a half, 2 hours.
Yep.
Right? And then my commute home is 5 feet to the doorway of my office, and that's it. So, my work-life balance is better. My productivity, I think, is high. Our team's like overall happiness, I think, is through the roof.
Agreed.
So I wouldn't change that for them. But again, there's other roles that matters. Like,
so I'm gonna put you on the spot, because you mentioned twice that you were a graphic designer, right?
Yeah.
You kind of
that's where it started.
Right. But wait, you went the path of, you got out of the design aspect, right? And really went into the platform, the technical aspect. So I'm gonna put you on the spot. Let's say you were given an opportunity to go back to be a designer. No? Why not?
One, I've been out of practice.
Right.
2, I think my creative eye hasn't kept up with the times.
Okay. All right.
Right. So I don't think I would I don't think I do well. I don't. And you know what, the thing why I made the switch over, it wasn't that I switched from graphic design into like digital marketing out of like necessity.
Right.
As I started doing like HTML development for like emails, I started recognizing like I kind of like the patterns. I like the kind of mathematics to it, to the, how the data works. All these things like appealed to me more. And it was something in 2007 that we didn't talk about that at school. Like there was no pathway for that.
Right.
To discover it on the job, it was like, okay, maybe this was what I was looking for. Now it's different. Like you find people that are like, they don't even like go to university. They just get certifications in some platform and they jump into it.
Totally.
I think on my team, there's at least 4 English majors. Like,
that's cool. I mean, that's
like,
like you don't even think about somebody that gets a degree in English that would ever actually end up on a platform technical side. But sometimes the mind works in mysterious ways. So first of all, how big is your team that you have right now at Shaw Scott?
My squad is 6.
Okay. Okay.
You know, our other team, our clients or our campaign services team is nearly 3 times that.
So do you apply the same rules of management coaching to the team of 6 that you did or still do with wrestling?
Some of them, yeah. Some of them, but I mean, I think they translate, because things like growth mindset, you know, that like the idea of like we treat failure as like learning opportunities. That's the same thing I work with like my wrestlers at. I don't ding my athletes for asking questions. I would never ding my team members at Shaw Scott the same way.
Yeah.
Asking questions to me is them wanting to get better.
Right.
Or to try to avoid failure, they want to learn on the front end.
Yeah.
But if we do fail, we're going to learn on the back end either way. You know, I always look at like, and prime example, I always tell my athletes that when they step on the mat, I want them to be so ready that they don't need me.
Right.
They don't need me shouting at them.
Right.
And that's the same with my team at Shaw Scott. I want to be able to go on vacation and not get a phone call. You know, like it's the same kind of mindset. So I think I don't make them run ladders, or, you know, we don't hit the gym at 6 a.m. every morning, but there are basic principles that I think translate,
Yeah.
you know.
One final question in an aspect is, you know, we don't meet a lot of people who've been in our industry for some time. Apparently, there's this notion about email marketing that it's not sexy and that it's not fun, or that it's old school, or whatever analogy people use to describe it. People don't stick around in it for a long time. They want to feel like they move up, right?
Yeah.
Why do you stick around? Like, why is it that you've been in this industry for as long as you have? What's the motivator? What's the driver?
I think because it's always changing.
Okay.
If you would have told me at the beginning in 2007 that we would be doing full-fledged journeys that integrate multi-channels of SMS. We didn't even know what a push notification was in 2007. Like it's gone from like text email to like HTML rich email to like deep links in apps. Like we just keep growing and growing. I mean, some of my team hates it, but I'm curious to see like what like the Chat GPT does to change the game. Right. Like, you know, we have it's the Matrix, and the robots are going to take over half of my team. And we also have the ones that like, altered carbon, like boot me up to my new body.
Yeah. Type of thing.
Yeah. So
I'm going to agree with you in the sticking power, right? I think a lot of people tend to pigeonhole themselves into one area of email. And so long as you feel as if there's other places to plug in and learn, you may not become an expert at it, but at least you have enough working knowledge to know that if you needed to kind of branch off. And that's where I think sometimes people get a little bit short-sighted when they come in there, or maybe they're polluted, right? They come to the brand side, they're this email marketing manager, they're pounded every single day for revenue, they're given very little budget. You know, they struggle. And so they're like, I need to get in someplace which is a little bit more insulating. And so, I kind of get it, right? You sort of have to, you have to be able to spread your wings, and you have to be able to learn on your own. And there's a great community of people to help you learn.
Sure.
But there's also this notion that maybe you ought to you should attach yourself to a mentor. And I think that's sort of really important. Not old school mentoring, but somebody that can coach you at least and say, hey, look, there's other areas, maybe you should look at this.
Yeah.
And the only way you're going to learn is if you do this, or if you experiment with this. And that's okay. So I want to have one final thought from you. Imagine if there's a group of people that have maybe 7-8 years of experience in this industry, whether they've all been on the the vendor side, the agency side, or the brand side. If you had a really sort of broad stroke recommendation for them, what would that be? What would that 2 minutes that you would say to them?
I think it'd be a little bit of a mixture of, one, never stop learning, which seems cliche, but it's, to your point, like you're always a student, right? But two, like It's honestly, it's just work. Don't be afraid to like jump lanes or try something new. Like I listen in on strategy calls now and I find it fascinating.
Yeah.
Will I be an email strategist? Probably not.
Yeah.
But it could expand my understanding of what I do and maybe make what I do a little bit better because I have that strategy in mind, you know?
Sure.
So
Sure.
I would always just say, like, if you find something interesting, chase it.
Yep. Yep. I'll attach onto that and say, just, you know, just not to sound cliche, but curiosity does work, right? As a strategist at heart, right? I like to put together strategies, but oftentimes, you know, that's when you got to go to the technologist to say, I want to do this, 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 and this. And you are assuming it can be done, right? Yeah. And so like, we kind of put the burden then on the technologist like yourself, right? And say, hey, dude, you got to build this, right? I kind of sold it, but I didn't, type of thing. And I think that's important. But if I had a group of people in front of me, I think it would be very, very simple. There's a tremendous community of email marketers out there in many different facets, whether it's groups on LinkedIn, Slack channels, a variety of other things. There's also a notion of people out there that write and speak about email marketing a lot. Sometimes it's repeated a lot. Find a few people, find a few blogs, find a few people that are thought leaders in this industry, or even that are not thought leaders, and attach yourself to them and learn an area where you feel you can become uber passionate. Your passion started and now is really eclipsing to a great thing as, you know, as a solutions engineer and running this team at Shaw Scott. My passion was always sort of strategy. And I think, you know, that's the most important thing. And I think don't give up on email. It's going to be around a long time. So, so this has been fascinating, right? I love learning more and more about your background. Every time we talk, Eric, I learn something about.
It's been fun.
About you, and I'm more and more honored to call you my colleague. And you know, I know you're going to do amazing things. Thank you, Eric, for your time. I really appreciate it. And for everybody here at Email Never Sleeps, please continue to watch, support, ask questions, send me notes on what you would like to see in the future. Thanks again, Eric. Appreciate it.
Right on.